Hi guys, it's Miss Gilbert here, and today I want to talk to you about voting. It's time for us to select which FLA book was our favorite this year. Remember, this year we had 10 books. We finished 7 of them while we were still at school learning, and the last 3 I sent out videos to your teachers for them to share with you with your distance learning. So I'm going to go over all 10 books. I'm going to show you the items from my basket to help you remember, and I'll tell you a little bit about each book. At the end, you will have to decide which one book, only get to pick one, is your favorite. And I'll walk you through the steps of doing online voting through your Canvas. Okay? So let's start with the first story that I shared with you many weeks ago about Hannah. Hannah's Tall Order. Remember, Hannah wanted a sandwich built using all the letters of the alphabet. And when she went to pick up her sandwich, McDougal told her, "I don't have any wheat bread." Hannah said, "Forget it, put it all back." In my basket, to help us remember that story, I put the sandwich because Hannah wanted an A to Z sandwich. Our second story, Vincent Comes Home. This was a story about the cat who was on the ship, and he always heard the sailors talking about home, but Vincent didn't understand what that meant until one of the trips they stopped on the land, and Vincent got to go on land for the first time, and that's when he realized his home was on the ship, and he and his captain headed back. So to help us remember that story, we have our boat, because Vincent and the captain lived on a boat. Our third story, Izzy Gizmo. Izzy Gizmo was about the little girl who had lots of inventions that didn't always work out so well, until she met the crow who had broken wings, and Izzy created a cast to put on that wing to help the crow fly. To help us remember that story, I had a black crow in my basket. Next, we have the story of the honeybee. And this story was written because the author is very passionate about honeybees and wanted a lot of boys and girls to learn what can we do to help preserve and take care of having honeybees. These honeybees would zoom and sip and dance to create honey. To help us remember that story, we had the honeybee. All right, next is Imagine. Now this book was actually a poem that was created by a little boy named Juan Herrera. Juan grew up in Mexico as a farm worker, and as he grew older, he imagined writing poems. He ended up writing several books about poems and is now known as the Poet Laureate of the United States of America. Imagine. And to help us remember that story, one of your favorites was the brain that I put in the basket, because we have to use our brain when we imagine. Next, I have Harriet Gets Carried Away. This was a story about the little girl named Harriet who liked to dress up in different costumes. One time she dressed up as a penguin, and she met some penguins at a grocery store who were there to buy ice. She traveled home with them and realized that wasn't the right place for her, so a whale gave her a ride back home to her birthday party. And to help us remember that story, hold on, I dropped the penguin. We have a penguin. Next, we have The Rough Patch. This was the story that was a little bit sad about a farmer and his dog. The dog grew very old and passed away. The thing that the farmer and the dog liked to do together was to work in the garden. So after the dog passed away, the farmer didn't want to work in the garden anymore, except for one plant, which was the pumpkin. He let that pumpkin plant continue to grow, and it grew and grew so huge that he ended up taking it to the fair, where he won 3rd place in the largest pumpkin contest. Well, the prize was either $10 or you could go look at those pups over there in the box. The farmer said, "No, thank you, I'll take the $10. But it doesn't hurt to go look at the pups." So if you remember, on the last page of this story, we found out what the farmer actually decided about his prize. You're right. He gave that $10 back, selected a new pup, and took him home. Now, to help us remember that story, I had a pumpkin in my basket. Now, the next three that I'm going to share with you are the three that you should have heard through your teachers posting them on your modules. The first one is called Game Changers. This is a story about two sisters, Venus and Serena Williams, who are famous, very good tennis players who have won many, many competitions. But they had to overcome a lot of challenges to get where they are today. So to help us remember Game Changers, I put in a tennis racket and a tennis ball. The next story that I'm going to share with you was one that I actually reached out to the author. His name is Douglas Wood, and I asked him would he read this story, videotape it, and send it to me for all of the Black Bears at Clay Springs to hear. And he said yes. So the very next day I got the recording of him reading this story. This story is about Americans and how we're alike in many ways, like caring about people, dreaming, believing. But sometimes we do fight and we do argue. But best of all, we all have hope. So to help us remember the American story, I have a flag. Because we always think about America with our American flag. Now, the last item, the last book that I'm going to share with you was called What If? This is about a little girl who likes to express herself. Sometimes she colors, sometimes she draws, she carves with wood, she sculpts, and she even realizes that in her neighborhood how many of her neighbors do things like dancing, singing, even decorating cakes, that they express themselves that way. So for this story, I added a box of crayons because we can express ourselves in a lot of ways through the drawings that we create. Okay, so now you've heard all 10 stories. Let me change my screen to show you now how voting is going to work. All right, you're going to go onto your Canvas page like this. Actually, that was your dashboard. Click on Canvas. Now, on your dashboard for Canvas, you should see this picture right here of the front of our school, and it says Clay Springs Distance Learning. Click on there. Now go right over here where it says Modules. Click on Modules. Now you have to scroll down just a little bit. That first one is Miss Weisbach's page. The second one are Resources. And the third one, this is my module. So all the things listed here are from me. I want you to go down to the third one right here that says FLA Books, Voting for Kindergarten, First and Second. Click on the link. Oops, let me change it to preview so it looks like yours. Now, you have one question. This is the hard part. Which book was your favorite? And I've listed all the books. I tried to do them in the order that I read them to you. I may have them a little bit mixed up. So Hannah's Tall Order is at the top. Vincent Comes Home, Izzy Gizmo, The Honey Bee, Imagine, Harriet Gets Carried Away, The Rough Patch, Game Changers, Americans, and What If? So decide right now, which one is your favorite? Let's pretend like it's Harriet Gets Carried Away. You would click beside that story and then scroll down and hit Submit Quiz. And that's all you have to do to finish your voting for your favorite FLA book. Now, the really good news that I'm super excited about is that the new list of books should be coming out the first week of May. So I'm super, super excited that I'll be able to share those books with you next year. I miss you bunches. I hope you're doing lots of reading, and I will announce the winner from Clay Springs next week. I will make sure Miss Weisbach has it for her morning message, and I'll also put it on Class Dojo so that you know which book got the most votes. All right, happy reading. Bye for now.